Infantry Outdoors is sponsored in part by Lady B with the National Motor Club. Drive protected, drive with the Motor Club. And by donations from viewers like you. Infantry Outdoors is proudly partnered with the National Parks Conservation Association, preserving our national parks for the future, and Aquanauts Adaptive Aquatics.
Hey guys, getting ready to go on an airboat adventure here in the middle of the Everglades. If you guys ever get a chance to do this, make sure you come out to Sawgrass Recreation Center and have a great time. Everybody in the boat behind me is ready. We're gonna get ready to go check out some cool things that you can only find here in Florida. So if you guys ever get the chance to come down, make sure you stop by Sawgrass Rec, check out my friend Brett, the animals, and the airboat rides, guys. Let's go take a ride. Welcome to this adventure of Infantry Outdoors. Yours truly, DJ Infantry, your favorite outdoorsman out here in the beautiful Everglades in South Florida. Today we're doing something a little bit different, a little bit off the wall, but we're gonna have fun no matter what. We are at Sawgrass Rec Center, located here on US 27 in, what is it, Sunrise is this?
Technically Weston,
Davie,
what used to be Andytown.
There you go. Okay, if you come off US 27, I'm gonna put a picture on the map. Come off US 27, it is on the east side of 27, just past Sawgrass Expressway. So we're going to put that on the map for you guys. I'll also link Sawgrass Rec and all their information down in the description below, as we always do. Today I'm here with my good friend and neighbor Brett Burger, the zoologist here at Sawgrass Rec Center. And today we're going to be showing you some really cool animals and experiences that you can only get here at Sawgrass Rec. We're going to look at Florida native animals, we're going to look at invasive animals, we're going to look at some animals that don't even belong anywhere here. But the point of it is, you can only do this kind of thing here at Sawgrass Rec. Brett, how long have you been here, my man?
All told about 7 years.
7 years. So you've seen this place basically come up to what it is now.
It's a lot different from when I started, but this place has been here in some form as a place to go for airboat rides in the Everglades, as a fish camp for well over 35 years.
Yeah, it's been here for a long time. And the nice thing that we were talking about earlier is this is kind of like a hidden gem here in Florida. A lot of people don't know about it. Of course, we know about Holiday Park up north, and we know about Everglades National down south, but Sawgrass Rec Center, they really got it going on. They've got the airboat rides, they've got boat slips, like you said, a fish camp, they've got a general store. They've got so much here for you guys to do that if you don't stop here, then you really didn't see South Florida. That's my honest opinion. Today, Brett's going to be taking us through here. As we've seen in a lot of the B-roll, they got a lot of cool stuff here. We're going to be checking out a lot of cool animals. What do you got in the lineup for us today?
Obviously gators, that is our specialty here at Sawgrass Recreation Park. But we got lots of reptiles, big snakes, all kinds of lizards, both native and exotic. What else? We got the Florida panthers, black leopards, bobcat, caracal, giant tortoises. Kind of a smorgasbord of animals here at Sawgrass Rec.
Now let's take a second to talk about something you just touched on there. What is a native species and what is an exotic species?
Okay, native species is any species that is supposed to be here. Invasive exotic species are things that shouldn't be here. Things that got out from the pet trade, things that were released on purpose, things that got loose from hurricanes hitting places like this and releasing some animals.
Yeah.
Anything that's not supposed to be here, that's exotic, that's invasive.
Now how many, do we have more in Florida, more invasive exotics, or do we have more native species nowadays?
It depends on where you are. In a lot of the spots, even here in the Everglades, half of the species that you see commonly around here are exotics.
They don't belong.
They just don't belong here. And a lot of times they do outcompete the native species, since a lot of times those exotic species don't have natural predators.
Right.
So their numbers balloon, they outcompete native species. Now here, you're going to see a lot still of native things. Obviously alligators are native, they're still a stronghold here. Lots and lots of native species of snake. But unfortunately, a lot of what you will see is exotic.
Yeah. And that's kind of what South Florida really has become, because think about this, a lot of you guys come down here to fish. What do you fish for? You want to come get the peacock. Well, guess what? The peacock don't belong here. It's an invasive species. So you can kind of see how this is going. Midas cichlids, which I think they're awesome. The biggest goldfish in the water. You got them here, but they don't belong here. So many different things in Florida for you guys to see. And today we're going to go around the park. Brett's going to give us that one-on-one opportunity to really check out the animals, ask the questions, and get you guys the information. So that the next time you come to South Florida, you can come to Sawgrass Rec, you can ask for Brett, you can ask for Captain Mike, you can ask for any of the people that are here on the show with me that have been here a long time, and they're going to give you the best experience that you can possibly have in the Florida Everglades. Where can we get started today, Brett?
I think we're going to start off with an alligator.
Hey, let's go play with a pit bull. Stay tuned, guys.
First things first, let me just explain to you where these animals have come from. We're not a zoo, we're more of an animal rescue. The majority of the animals you're going to see today came to us as rescued animals, and that does include the alligators. Now, the alligators normally come to us as nuisance alligators, meaning these are the ones showing up in your backyard, in the canal behind your house, maybe swimming around in your pool. That type of behavior, them wanting to be around humans, generally starts with a human feeding them. They lose their fear of us, at which point they just kind of hang out, and they hope that somebody else feeds them. These guys love free food. Once they make that association, you as a food source, not necessarily as a meal, but as a food source, they're not going to unlearn that. And that's what a nuisance alligator is. It's not necessarily one going after people or pets. It's just one that's gotten used to humans and is now looking for a handout. Now, by law, those alligators are normally caught and killed. But it's not their fault. They're just being alligators. They don't deserve to die because of it. So that's where we can step in. Instead of them being caught and killed, they can be brought here. And if we have the room, we can take them in and give them a home. Now, the deal is, if we take them in, we have to keep them for the rest of their life. In captivity, alligators have been known to live 70 to 90 years. They can live in excess of 100. So it's a big commitment. It means we can't take every last alligator. But when we can, we do. No questions asked. They come here, they live out the rest of their days, they get a second chance. And that's what this place is. Somewhere for the animals to go so they're not just killed. All right, that being said, let me introduce you to these two. Let's start with this one right here. This is Crystal. Crystal's an average-sized female alligator, about 7.5 feet, 250 pounds, and that's pretty typical for a female. Females generally end up in the 6 to 9 foot range. She's right in the middle of that. So that is very much average for a female alligator. At that size, 250 pounds, that's not a small alligator. She's deadly. she could kill you very easily. She only looks small in comparison to her boyfriend down there. That is cannibal. That's our largest alligator in the park by far, 13 feet long and about 800 pounds. And for most of you, that will be about the biggest alligator that you will ever see. All right, I do this for a living. That's just about the biggest alligator that I've ever seen. They do not all get that big. Only the boys can get that big. Females, 6 to 9 feet. Males just keep going. So basically 10 feet and beyond, you've got yourself a boy. 13 feet like he is, a gigantic male may end up in the 15 to 16 foot range. So that is not necessarily full grown. Now it's taken cannibal about 55 years to get to this size. He's in his mid-50s, in a species that can live 70 to 90 years, maybe more. So really that guy is just middle-aged. So that means hopefully he's got quite a few years left in front of him. And he's gonna be growing the entire time. It's called indeterminate growth. There is no such thing as a full-size alligator. As long as they're eating, they're alive, they're growing, till the day they die. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna see what type of mood the alligators are in today. Alligators do have moods. The moods change day to day, changes a lot with the weather, the season. So how they're gonna respond to me right now, it can be a little unpredictable. I can't promise you any one specific behavior. Ultimately, we're gonna find out together what type of mood she's in. Now, a little background. We are in the very, very tail end of breeding season. We are in hatching season. Eggs are starting to hatch. Babies are around. Now, Crystal laid eggs this year. She made a nest. We're already well past this. We actually collected the eggs like we have to. We can't leave the eggs here to hatch. If we were to let the eggs hatch in this habitat, babies would make it to the water, where mom would try to protect them, but dad might just eat them. So that's not something we can do. Absolutely nothing so far. She hasn't even bothered to set her feet flat on the ground of the pond, so if she wanted a lunch, she could. This is relaxed. So this is telling me maybe it's completely gone. What if I get a little bit closer? You want to say hello to anybody? Basically nothing. So that's a little bit more what I was expecting. You want to say hello to everybody? Now, as impressive as that is a pretty half-hearted response. Normally by that time I'm that close, she has pulled herself up on the land and she's put herself in between the nest and I. So that if I wanted to go to the nest, I would have to go through her. But this didn't happen. All we got is a puff up. She came up, she showed me her teeth, she showed her entire body, her nose, her back, her tail was all at the surface, and that's posturing. She wants to let me know how big she is. Showing off. If an alligator is showing you its entire body, it's on purpose. This animal's whole game is staying hidden. They're ambush predators. Ambush doesn't work very well if you're not hidden. So if an alligator is showing you its entire body, it's trying. It's to send a message. Hey, I'm a giant alligator, you should probably step back. But now if I continue this, there's no charge, there's no follow through. This is all just kind of half-hearted bluff right now. We have 1.5 million alligators in Florida. And yet each year on average, we only have maybe 5 to 8 attacks a year. That is a tiny number when you consider we have 1.5 million alligators living here. That roughly 20 million people live in Florida. That this is one of the tourist meccas of the states. All the boating, swimming, fishing, water recreation, all amongst alligators, and there's still only 5 to 8 attacks a year. That number alone should tell you they're not targeting people on purpose. If they were, you would hear about it a lot more than 5 times a year. In the state of Florida, you are more likely to get killed by a falling coconut. I am not making that up. That is a real statistic. Coconuts kill more people than alligators. So this is not necessarily something you need to worry about while you're here. These are just not man-eating animals. Keep your distance, they'll keep theirs. It really is that simple. All right, so I'm gonna take the long way. I'm gonna go to the back of the pond and we're gonna see if we can get Cannibal up to say hello. Stay there. So, now for the fun part. Alright, so we're going to see if we can just bring him right to the surface here. He's much lighter in the water. Come on, bud. Come say hello.
The moss that grows on him, is that another indication of age?
No, the algae, the green color you're seeing on him is algae. And there we go. There's cannibal. But yeah, alligators in captivity, turtles in captivity, have a lot more algae grow on them than ones you would see out in the wild. And that's because this animal is not going continuously through sawgrass and reeds and brush, which would naturally clean them off. There's no fish and crustaceans and shrimp and stuff that would be picking that off. So they do get a lot more algae growth in captivity, and we do have to bathe him. We actually bathed him the other day. He's already that covered in algae. So now, I pulled him up. He came to the top for just a second to visit, said hello, and then went right back under the surface. But he never made an attempt on it, because there's no point. He knows I'm not food. He knows I don't have food. He knows that this is just what I do. I bring him to the surface, and I don't take it any further. So he knows all he has to do is deal with that for just a second, and then I'm going to leave him alone. All right, folks, this is what we're going to do. If any of you guys want to hold a baby alligator, that's what we're going to do right now. The babies we have are the offspring of these two. So if you do want to hold a little baby cannibal, take a picture with it, love it and squeeze it, I highly recommend it. Don't just run off. Follow me as I leave here. We're going to take care of that. Please remember, we are a rescue organization. Donations help us care and feed for all the animals here. They're greatly appreciated. They go right in the box by the baby gators. So, meet me right over there to hold a baby gator. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Have a good one, folks.
So this is what you come here to Florida to see. This is a baby alligator, probably about, what, 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet. Nice sized gator. These guys are not toys. If this wouldn't have had tape on it, I would not be holding it. I promise you that. But like I've always told you guys, every body of water in the state of Florida, I don't care if you go to Disney World or the pond in your grandma's backyard, they probably have alligators in them. So keep your distance, just be safe. These guys are meant to be there, you are not. And I say that in all of my videos. The animals that you guys encounter, they're better viewed from afar than you are up close to them. But this is a really cool opportunity to hold a baby gator. What's this guy's name?
That's Smiley.
Smiley. Well, you can't tell he's smiling.
He's trying to smile.
He's trying to smile. I don't know if he's mad at me or he's just smiling, but he's really cool. And how old is he?
That's about 3 years old.
3 years old. So in 3 years, they only get this big. Imagine, the big one over there, that's a big gator. He's seen a lot of time on this earth. So when you go out into the Everglades, you go on these boat tours and you see the alligators and they're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They've been out there a long time. Now Smiley, he's going to get that big too. Hopefully he's going to get it loose. Oh, is he going to get loose one day?
No, by law, once they're in captivity, they're going to stay in captivity for life. All right, so this is Stevie. This is our laughing kookaburra. This is the largest of the kingfisher family of birds. These guys are native to Australia. And they're called the laughing kookaburra for a fairly obvious reason. Their call is very distinct. It's really kind of one of a kind. No other bird really makes a sound like this. So we're gonna see if we can get Stevie to vocalize for you. Stevie. That is fairly unique. That is definitely yeah. That is definitely the most unique type of call, bird call.
You almost when I was laughing.
I think
It's
if
really-
anybody's
there's
ever
nothing
watched
else.
the Jungle movie, they know that sound.
Right. Yeah. It is very distinct. It's been used in in a lot of different ways.
But it's not found in the jungle, right?
No, these are like to kind of live. Excuse me. Most kingfishers live along bodies of water. A lot of times, rivers, streams. These guys actually specialize in eating lizards.
Oh, wow.
That is one of their staples. and that allows them to be kind of away from the water. They live in Australia, which can be very, very arid depending on where in Australia you are. A lot of it is absolutely bone dry. Most kingfishers live along water. They hunt most of the times fish, kingfisher. This animal doesn't do that as much. These animals can be a little bit farther from the water, and one of the reasons they're able to do that is eating lizards. Lizards, especially desert lizards, are masters of water conservation, and so the prey they eat is just loaded in water. They're getting most of the water they will ever need from their prey. They never really drink standing water.
That is so cool.
What we're seeing here, guys, is a giant tortoise.
Brandon, you want to feed these guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
Say yes, please.
All right, so these are what they call African spurthighed tortoises, and you can see why they're called spurthighs. Right on these legs here are these big, hard spurs. Well, because I touched him. You don't want me to touch him. So these guys are from, excuse me, these guys are an African species. This is the third largest species of tortoise on Earth, behind the Galapagos tortoise, the Aldabra tortoise, and then these guys are the third largest. Here, you can take some more. Thought he's going to start coming. You're going to let it
Start
track us.
scooting back.
So yeah, third largest species. As big as these are, this is not necessarily full grown. They can get considerably larger than this even.
Like that one back there?
Yeah, I mean, even these guys. This is not as big as this guy, you know, for scale. As big as this is, they can get decently larger than this. Maybe a third to a half times larger than this one is here. They can push 200 pounds, maybe more.
Can they push a car?
I don't know.
How quickly do they grow?
Faster than you think. I have one that I can show you that's about 4 years old. That's actually my personal tortoises here. So they start out, they're this big, ping pong ball size, 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
He's coming out.
he's coming. Just be careful because they'll roll right into your legs and they'll,
Knock you over.
yeah, just make sure you keep your distance. Yeah, these guys, while very, very common in the pet trade, they do make good pets, but you have to know what you're getting yourself into. This is not an animal for everybody. This is not an animal to have in an apartment. This is an animal that if you have a yard, a well-secured yard, because they will dig straight out of it if it's not secured, they can make rewarding pets. But this animal will eat you out of house and home. They eat a lot. They'll eat all kinds of fruits and vegetables. Their staple is hay. Out in the wild, they're eating mostly dried grasses and reeds with not a lot of water content, so their staple is dried grass. What we use is generally Timothy hay. That's their staple. This we kind of use as a supplement, as a snack. And again, out in the wild, they're not eating a ton of very moist vegetation.
Mama, it's fun.
So cool animals, but again, easy to get from a pet store. And you're thinking, okay, well, it's this big, I can take care of that. Well, in 4 years, 5 years, you have an animal that's about this big and already eating 2 heads of lettuce a day. That gets out of control pretty quickly. By this time, I mean, this is not for everybody. And the way we get these animals is from people who bought them at a pet store thinking they were going to be able to handle it. It gets too much to handle, and they bring them into us, and we take care of them. And almost every sulcata, every African spurthighed tortoise that you see in a zoo or at a place like this came from somebody as a pet. These are donated to people at a place like this at a ridiculous rate, because again, people just don't understand what it takes to have this type of animal as a pet. So very cool. If you wanted a pet tortoise, there's plenty of other species that are more reasonable to have than this. Not everybody needs a 200-pound tortoise.
See, now I know what that one is. That's a red rat.
Red rat snake, otherwise known as the corn snake. And this is a really common snake that we have in South Florida. One of my very, very favorites. So red rat, so let's break that down. Obviously it's red, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Rat snake, one of their favorite things to eat is rodents. So rat snake. The other name they give these is corn snake. And that one's pretty easy to understand too. Anytime you're going to be around a farm, say the farm is growing grain, it's growing hay, oats, whatever, there's going to be storage of that. Anywhere there's going to be storage of that, you're going to have rats. Anywhere you have rats, you're going to have snakes that like to eat rats. So, corn snake, cornfields, where that storage is, a lot of times that is a common place to find these. Rat snakes in general are pretty common all throughout the United States. There's a number of different species. These guys exist all throughout Florida. And you want to talk about an actual good pet?
I think that's everybody's first snake, to be honest with you.
This is a great beginner snake. Very, very easy to tame down. They don't get very big. They're easy to feed. Very easy maintenance. And this is a native species in Florida. This is actually supposed to be here, not like a lot of the other snake species we see here. And again, out in the wild, these are going to be eating rats. You're going to be eating birds, lizards. They are very much arboreal. Arboreal means they exist in the trees. And you can kind of see that here. This animal has no problem hanging on to me. If I am a tree branch, this guy's got no problem doing that. Even if I were to completely suspend him underneath like this, see if he wants to do it. He's got no problem just hanging on by the tail, and he can actually climb up his own body and get back up here. Not all snakes can do that. That's a feature that is really commonly found in arboreal snakes.
How long will they get? How big will they get?
Depends on if it's a male or a female. But generally, these guys don't get bigger than 4 feet. And really, as about maybe a little bit fatter than this, this is not a snake that gets really large. This is not a 10-foot, 20-foot python. So very manageable animals, very rewarding. So this guy's out here sticking his tongue out consistently over and over and over again, and that's just him smelling. He just wants to see what's in the environment. He's checking out, is there any food near? Basically, he sticks his tongue out. That's going to collect chemicals, scent molecules out in the air. He puts that in his mouth, and then he flicks the two up to the roof of his mouth, where he's got something called the Jacobson's organ, the vomeronasal organ. And that is his scent detector. We have our nose, they have a vomeronasal organ, the Jacobson's organ, and basically that tongue is delivering those molecules to that. And they can basically smell.
Taste the air. Yeah, that's pretty cool. They taste the air.
They definitely taste the air.
From a red rat snake over to this guy, which I think he is so cool. Like one of the coolest lizards.
This to me is one of the coolest lizards on the face of the planet. I have a special place in my heart for these because this is one of the first lizards I have ever kept. I have one of these at home that is coming up on 20 years old. One of the first ones I ever had.
20 years old?
Into doing this. So this is called a blue-tongued skink. Skinks are a group of lizard known for their kind of cylindrical long body, these tiny little stubby legs. And this one has got a blue tongue, hence the name.
Yeah, look at him.
This species is native to Australia, New Guinea, some of the Indonesian islands. Now, the most obvious feature of this is a giant blue tongue. And that tongue's got an actual purpose. So, this animal, if you were to disturb it in the wild, it would feel like it needs to be defensive. What it's going to do, it's going to flatten its body out, and it's going to lift its head up, and it's going to open its mouth. Now, the rest of the mouth is bright pink. The only part that's blue is that tongue. So what he's going to do, he's going to get defensive, he's going to puff himself up, make himself look flat and a little bit bigger. He's going to open his mouth, and you're going to see stark pink and bright blue. And he's going to start wagging his tongue back and forth. This is a defensive reaction. It's called aposematic coloration.
Which basically means that bright colors in nature tend to be poisonous or deadly, so he's trying to mimic something.
Right, basically, yeah, those bright colors, they're meant to be conspicuous. It's meant to send you in the other direction. Because here, browns, mottled, this is meant to camouflage. All right, so they have 2 methods of handling life. This is camouflage. All right, so he's meant to be down on the ground in leaf litter, dead leaves, and this will blend right in. So if that camouflage doesn't work, instead of disguising being their method of defense, they switch to an active method of defense. So they go from camouflage to aposematic coloration, where that bright color, that waving blue tongue amongst all the pink, is meant to send whatever's bothering them in the other direction.
Pretty cool. And what is his diet? What does he eat?
These are omnivores. Out in the wild, they're going to be eating basically anything that's edible. They'll eat fruits, vegetables, they'll eat snails, bugs, probably they came across eggs, small birds. They can be carnivorous as far as like actually predatory. In captivity, they're kind of little garbage disposals. They will eat anything. Mine at home, this one here, we will feed mice, chicks, bananas, apples, greens.
He just wants to eat.
Super worms, all kinds of bugs. Basically, if you put it in front of him and it's edible, he'll eat it. They're pretty non-discriminate. But absolutely cool lizards. Again, this is one of the first lizards that got me into doing what I do. I used to bring mine to college. He would sit in my pocket. I'd bring him to zoology class. And he would just kind of turn around in my pocket with his head sticking out, and he would sit there for 3 hours with me.
Wow.
No problem. Just really social, calm animals. Again, actually do make really good pets.
And this is not an animal we'll find in the wild here in Florida.
No, you're not going to find this in Florida. You're going to find this all throughout Australia, again, New Guinea, Indonesian islands. And there's probably 6 or 7 different species of blue-tongued skink. This is a northern blue-tongued skink from northern Australia.
All right, so for those of you that have been to Florida or Caribbean islands, Trinidad, Jamaica, this guy right here is on just about every shoreline, every sidewalk. Nowadays they're in the trees, and when it gets cold in Florida, well, they tend to fall out of the trees.
Yes, they do.
So I've actually rescued a few of these. This is an iguana, guys. For those that have never seen this, this is a awesome animal. One of my first lizards I ever owned. I had 47 of these little guys at one time. The biggest one being, if I were to put it on Brett's head, the tail would go all the way down to the floor.
They can get big.
Yeah, they get really big. They're really cool animals. They are herbivores. I'm right on that one, right?
Right.
And their diet consists of lettuce. They love hibiscus flowers. Hibiscus is like a candy to them. Mealworms. This is one animal I actually know a little bit about.
Actually, these guys are not supposed to get any type of meat, bugs. Babies out in the wild have been known to eat some bugs. Now, that's not to say they won't eat them, but they actually don't have the digestive system to handle that type of food properly.
Right.
So it's not to say that they won't, but they actually shouldn't.
Yeah, but keep them on a veggie diet.
Yeah, strict
Squash and all that good sort of stuff.
His injury, was that...
What's that?
His injury, how did that happen? His nose.
His nose, he was with another iguana when he was younger, and they got into a tussle. This is a big male iguana. Males don't like being around other males. That's why we have them in that cage solo. So as they were growing up, they were probably getting to maturity. They were going through puberty, and they realized, hey, wait, this is another boy. I'm not going to tolerate this. And yeah, he kind of lost that nose. So like most of the animals here, this is another rescued animal we have here. This is Crackerjack. One of our male green iguanas. Now you'll notice this one's not all that green.
Yeah, he's kind of gray.
And there's that's kind of a twofold thing. A lot of times as animals get older, a lot of that pigmentation will kind of fade away. So it's one of the things that does happen with age. And also it's one of the things that happens with these animals in captivity. This animal, again, while we try to recreate as natural a diet as possible, there's no way to give these the same type of diet that a wild iguana is going to have. So even the ones that are out here in South Florida. Now, this is not a native species, but you will find these all over South Florida. They're everywhere. Native to Central and South America, Caribbean islands. So even the wild ones in Florida, they're going around and they're going to be eating many different species of plant. So they're going to be getting trace vitamins and nutrients from this one that they don't get from the other one. They're going to get pigments from this one that they might not get from the other. And that's really hard to recreate in captivity. So a lot of times as these animals get older in captivity, the inability to provide them with all of the natural, especially pigments that they would get from all the wide variety of plants, flowers, fruits, stuff they would eat out in the wild, they can start to lose that coloration. So there's a combination of things going on. This guy is 20 plus years old.
Wow.
And he's been in captivity that entire time. So you've got the age thing going.
Yeah.
And then you've got the lack of a completely wild diet.
Okay.
So they do kind of gray out with age. He's still got a little bit of that color on his feet. especially in South Florida. A lot of the ones you're going to see out in the wild are bright orange,
bright
pink, green. You'll see some blues in there.
Now, does the diet determine the color of the iguana?
It can. There's a couple things that can determine the color. One, relax, bud. One is the diet. So ones that are going to be eating more highly pigmented flowers and stuff, they will assimilate that into their body. And so that can increase the amount of color. The other thing is the locale. These animals exist from Central America all the way down into deep South America. So there's different populations. Those different populations are living in different areas. Some of them have been separated from other populations. So you're going to have color forms start to pop up. There's going to be ones in certain areas that are more orange. There's going to be ones that are lots of times missing the green pigment altogether, and they're what they call axanthic, and they're blue. There are ones that are going to have almost like tiger striping. So depending on where, from Central America to South America, you find them, you'll find them looking drastically different color-wise, pattern-wise. But they're all the same species. Green iguana, scientific name, iguana.
Iguana.
Yeah, that's an easy one to remember.
Iguana.
One of the coolest animals we have here at Sawgrass Recreation Park, our Florida panthers. The state mammal of Florida, an absolutely critically endangered species. Only about 120 to 150 left in the wild.
She don't like looking.
And we got a couple here. Let's start with here. This is Mia. Mia's our female.
Hi, Mia.
Mia's coming up on maybe 11, 12 years old. Female Florida panther. And she loves strollers. She loves babies. She wants to hunt them.
Uh-huh.
And this is my boy. This is Orion.
Oh, he's so pretty.
Hi, bud. Hi, big boy.
Oh, he's purring.
So they are purring. This is the largest species of cat that can still purr. All right, so when you get to what you call big cats, there's 4 species of big cat: lion, tiger, leopard, jaguar. Those are what they call the big cats.
Hi, Mia.
For some reason, they don't count these among the big cats. This thing's 160 pounds. It's a pretty big cat, but it's not among those 4 species: lion, tiger, leopard, jaguar, that are in the genus Panthera. This is in a different genus, and they're more closely related to house cats than they are to lions and tigers and leopards. And this is the largest species of cat that can still purr. None of the 4 big species, none of those 4 Panthera species has the ability to purr. They just don't have the machinery.
So lions can't purr?
No. They can't purr. And these guys still meow.
Really?
On cat meow. If you heard it, you would think it was from a little kitten. It's ridiculous that this animal still has that. So now,
He's trying to row up against you like a kitty cat.
yeah, he wants attention. I've worked with this guy for about 3.5 years. When we got him, this is a rescued animal. He came from a place like this that got shut down. He was basically kept as like a backyard pet, and he was skin and bones when we got him. He's 160 pounds right now. When we got him, he was maybe 80 pounds.
Wow.
He was a walking skeleton. So it took quite some time to get his weight back on him, to get him trusting of people again. And when I say trusting of people, I mean even just this level of tolerance. If anyone were to go in to these cages, it would be the last thing they ever do.
Wow.
This seems like a cuddle kid, right? But if I were to go in there, I would be in his territory, and he would probably have me for lunch. Watch how quickly this can turn. Hey, bud. So he doesn't want to do it right now. Normally, as soon as I go like this, he jumps up, gets all crazy.
Ooh.
So he can't figure out, you know.
He doesn't know what he want to do, yeah.
So now, the Florida panther. This is the remnant population of what was once the eastern cougar. You used to have these animals all up and down the eastern seaboard, where for the most part they've completely disappeared. The only remnant population that now exists is the Florida panther, which is, again, what's left of the eastern cougar. So this species, this is the same species as the mountain lion out west, as the cougar in Texas, as the puma in Central South America. These are all different names. Panther, mountain lion, cougar, puma, catamount. These are all describing the exact same species. Now, there are some regional differences. Size of the animal, generally the more montane ones, the ones out west have to deal with colder weather, generally tend to be a little bit bigger. They have thicker coats, somewhat different color coat. Ours tend to be smaller. Florida panthers are pretty much the smallest of the species. But still, 160 pounds, that's not very small.
No.
But again, this is all the exact same species as those other ones that you can find all throughout North America, Central America, South America. And again, these are only, they estimate about 120 to 150 left in the wild. And
Which is sad.
Anywhere.
It's
That's
sad.
all of Florida. It's the only place they exist. And in all of Florida, in all the world, there's only about 120 to 150 of these left. And the big reason is that these animals require a fair amount of space. They require a fair amount of prey, which South Florida has less and less of every day. We keep making inroads into panther habitat, building more condos, building more roads through their habitat. And that all takes away the space that they can exist. It takes away area for prey to exist where they can survive on. Building roads through their habitat. That is one of the main killers of Florida panthers. So we have 120 to 150 left in the wild. And every year we lose 20 to 30 from car strikes. So if you only have 120 to 150 and you're losing a decent percentage of those every year, what they reproduce, the natural babies every year, are basically just enough to replace what you've lost.
So you're break even every
So you're
year.
almost break even. So that's why the numbers really have not gone up. Even though we try to protect their habitat as good as we can, the political will is not necessarily really there to do it. We're still building roads through their habitat. One of the areas you can find their stronghold, Big Cypress, out across Alligator Alley, huge wild area. That area, we do oil drilling there. And to this day, out there right now, they just got, a company just got done, hi buddy, just got done with an exploratory drilling campaign out in panther territory. They want to build more power plants out there. They want to take that over and build more condos. Well, what do you want? More people?
I'd rather
You want
the
these
more
to have
animals.
a place to exist. And right now, there's just not the will to make that happen. So we just keep taking more and more of their land, we keep building more and more roads, and we're going to lose them.
They don't have like what you have with the other animals where you can rehab them and release them back in the wild?
No. So there's not really any captive breeding programs for this animal. An animal like this has to be raised out in the wild by their mom. Mom is teaching them to do everything. So if you have these animals in captivity, say you have mom and dad in captivity, well, you might be able to get them to breed in captivity and have babies, but if that baby's not raised out in the wild and taught how to hunt, how to find water, how to find shelter, how to stay out of trouble, well, there's no way to get these animals back out into the wild. So once they're in captivity for good.
Ugh.
When you find injured Florida panthers, they're brought to a place called White Oak Conservation Center up in North Florida, where they're able to rehabilitate them and put them back out in the wild. But those are ones that are come from the wild. They can go back into the wild, but there's no ability to breed them here and get them out in the wild. It's just not really something that can be done. So what's out there, if we don't conserve their land, we don't stay out of their way, then we are absolutely going to lose the Florida panther. 100%. I haven't seen you in ages. Come here, monster.
Does he bite you?
Oh,
Any
well, hopefully
cat
not.
can bite.
All right. So, this is Damien. Damien is one of our male black leopards, or our only male black leopard. And this is one of the species of 4 big cat. This guy cannot purr like the Florida panthers. So, leopards from Africa and Asia, not a native species in Florida. And the most striking thing about this cat, oh, he's going to get his lick on. This guy loves getting his salt. So, black leopards. Most leopards are spotted. Yellow coat, black spots. Same thing with jaguar. Now, every once in a while, this black variant pops up. Black leopard, black jaguar. Now, what this is called is melanism. Melanin is the dark pigment in your skin, in your hair, that gives any of us any kind of color. When there's an excessive amount of that, you call it melanistic or hypermelanistic. And basically every part of him is just solid black, in the sun, you can kind of still see the spots. You can still see the rosettes a little bit. So, this generally pops up. This is a mutation. This is a gene that these cats carry that only pops up every once in a while. And every once in a while, you will have these animals form a small population. Now, this animal, generally from the plains of Africa, if he was stark black in the plains of Africa, he would stick out like a sore thumb. He wouldn't be able to survive because he wouldn't be able to hunt. If you have to sneak up on your prey, but you're sticking out from the background like a sore thumb, you're not going to be able to catch any prey. So, where these animals, if these pop up on the plains of Africa, chances are they're not going to do very well. However, if they pop up in the jungles of Africa, where there's canopy overhead from all the trees, the forest floor is really dark and shadowy, now this animal has an advantage. All right, so now this animal can do really well. He can actually do better than the spotted variants. All right, he blends in really well. Prey's not going to be able to see him. So there he's going to have an advantage, which means he's going to leave more offspring. And those offspring are going to have a better chance of being melanistic instead of spotted. So this animal is really only going to show up and form populations, stable populations of this color variation in certain habitats, generally darker habitats, so more jungly, more forest canopy. Again, this animal out on the plains, no good. In the dark, covered jungle, this animal does really, really well. So that's why you see those populations pop up. Now, a lot of people think that the Florida panther, which is this, again, the same species as the mountain lion, the cougar, the puma, I've heard it over and over again. I saw a black panther. Well, sorry to burst everybody's bubble. There's no such thing as a black panther. When I'm saying panther, I'm talking about that species, mountain lion, cougar, puma, panther. They don't have the gene. They don't carry that recessive gene to be melanistic. There is no such thing as a black panther if we're talking about that species.
This is something I've done, you know, growing up here in Florida. I kind of take it for granted because I've driven these, I've been on them. They're a blast. If you guys ever have the opportunity, I keep telling you, come here to Sawgrass Rec Center and check them out. Between airboats, the animals, all the nature, the things you're going to get to see here. This is Captain Mike. This was our captain today. Captain Mike, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good, guys.
How long have you been doing this?
Since about 2011, so about 7 years.
7, and the same waters?
Same
So
waters.
you're very familiar with this body of water?
Back of my hand, yeah.
Nice. Now, over your years, what's the biggest gator that you've had next to the boat?
This one we call Big Ben. He's about maybe 12, 13 feet long or so.
Good size.
He's very large. There's a certain spot where he shows up every once in a while, but before the hunting season, he'll vanish.
Smart.
When the season's over, he shows up again.
Smart gator.
Yes, he is.
That's why he's the big one. And as you guys seen, Captain Mike was talking about on the boat that, and I always tell you guys this, when you come to Florida, I don't care if it's a swimming pool, I don't care if it's a pond, any body of water in the state of Florida has the potential to hold alligators. So if you're going to come down and you're a sportsman like me and you like to fish, you like to catch the bass, and you have kids, keep your kids away from the water. I always tell everybody at least your rod's length away from the bank, and that should be okay. You know, you've heard a lot of the attacks. We had one recently in Davie. I actually fished that pond. And I like to tell the viewers, just be careful. I mean, Florida's a great place, but we do have some crazy animals that like to come and say hi.
That's a lot.
Have you ever had one come in the boat?
No.
Never, in all your years?
Never. We've been lucky.
Yeah, and that does happen. They'll spring right out and come sit next to you on the boat. But what are some other cool animals that you've had the opportunity to share with people?
Out here, there's during the spring, when it's a dry season, we see all kinds of birds. All kinds of great blue herons, tricolor herons, black ibises, which are kind of rare from what I gather.
Yeah.
And some rosette spoonbills too.
Okay.
So during the springtime, the water gets super low. You drive out a little further northeast, looks like something out of Africa.
Oh wow.
Drive through, there's birds everywhere.
That's amazing.
Birds everywhere. The Burmese pythons haven't really come up this direction yet that I've seen. I know by the Holy Lands have been spotted, and maybe about 8 miles, 10 miles south off the side they've been spotted out here, but not so many. So.
Yeah, no, we actually did an episode out here with the Python Hunter.
Okay, cool.
We spent 6 hours from Tamiami Trail, or from Chrome Avenue all the way up to the Holy Lands.
Okay.
We didn't find one.
Yeah.
So this again comes to where I tell you guys on the program a lot. When you hear the word invasive species, don't believe what the news is telling you. Don't believe snakeheads will come on land and eat your kid and your dog. I mean, they're invasive. That just means that they're here and they're not supposed to be. But I have seen largemouth bass living right next to a snakehead.
Right.
So the normal fish are living with the invasive fish, but we do have a lot of cool invasive animals now.
Yeah.
We got to give us that. We got pythons.
We got chameleons.
We got chameleons.
Iguanas from all over the place.
Yeah, iguanas. Those are my favorite because when I go fishing, they seem to follow me.
Right.
It's like I got a new buddy. So if the people want to check you out here, you're here all the time, right?
Yeah, I'm here. She's asked for Captain Mike to get guys out, show you this part of the Glades, have a good time.
Make sure you guys tell them at the counter that you want to do Captain Mike. That way he knows you guys seen it on YouTube, all right? Now, are you on YouTube?
I'm not, no.
No, Instagram? Anything we can follow you on? I know you got some good pictures hiding somewhere.
I don't really post a whole lot.
See, I find the one guy who doesn't post, everybody. We're going to get him Captain Mike his own channel. So, but Captain Mike, thank you, bro.
Thanks,
I appreciate it. Thanks
out.
for the awesome ride. And
Thanks for coming out.
this guy's well knowledgeable, as you guys will see through the video. He gave us a lot of information. So come on out to Sawgrass Rec, ask for Captain Mike, and get yourself an airboat ride today. Hey guys, we had a great day out here. Special thanks to my man Brett for making all of this happen. If you guys are ever down here in the Florida area, make sure to check out Sawgrass Recreation Park. It is a lot of fun. They got the airboats, they got the animals, and you can get the first-hand experience just like we did. Check out a lot of the animals, check out a lot of the stuff here, and remember that this is a volunteer-type park, guys, so anything that you can donate to help to keep the park going is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'm going to link all of the information for the park down below, and as well as Brett and everybody else, Captain Mike. I want to thank everybody for the day that we had. A lot of cool animals, guys. I hope you guys got a chance to see some stuff you would never see out in the wild, let alone in a cage. So for now, that's going to do it for us for today from here in Sawgrass Rec. Again, guys, as always, I'm DJ Infantry. I hope this and all of my adventures do inspire you to get outdoors. We'll see you next time.